The sky fortress hung high above the clouds, its towers gleaming like silver in the early sunlight. Inside, a great chamber stretched wide and tall, filled with shimmering crystals that reflected the light in hundreds of colors. In the center of the room lay a creature so magnificent that it could command fear and awe in any being who saw it. This was Kael'thar, the Dragon Prince, asleep for centuries in a crystal bed that was both a prison and a sanctuary. His golden scales were dim under the crystal's glow, but his size and form made him seem alive even in slumber. For generations, the fortress had tried to awaken him. Wizards had cast every spell imaginable, alien scientists had applied their most advanced technologies, and mystics had sent messages through the void, hoping to stir him. Nothing worked. Kael'thar remained still, his breathing slow, his heart almost invisible even to the most sensitive machines. Every failure only increased the legend of his power. Some said his eyes could melt steel, others claimed his roar could shake planets. And yet, all of that lay quiet in the crystal chamber waiting for something, or someone, different. Finn, a young human stable boy, trudged along the polished stone corridors, carrying a basket of fresh supplies for the dragon attendants. He was small and lean, with brown hair falling into his eyes and hands calloused from years of caring for smaller beasts. Most people in the fortress barely noticed him. To them he was just a boy who swept stables and fed dragons too young or too small to harm anyone. But Finn had curiosity, courage, and a sense of wonder that not even the oldest dragons could ignore. Today his curiosity pulled him toward the great chamber. He had been told never to enter, that Kael'thar was dangerous, and that no human could go near him. But Finn had always felt that there was something lonely behind the legends, something sad hidden beneath the stories of power. The door to the chamber was enormous, carved from black stone with silver inlays. 2 dragon attendants, tall and scaled in blue and silver, stood silently at the entrance. Finn stopped and bowed, careful not to disturb them. "Good morning," he said quietly. "I brought fresh fruit and warm blankets for the prince." The attendants did not respond, but one stepped aside, gesturing him in. Their eyes, sharp and intelligent, did not seem angry. They simply waited to see what the boy would do. Finn stepped inside, heart beating fast. The room was enormous, taller than any hall he had ever seen. The crystals sparkled under the sunlight, scattering rainbows across the walls. But all he could see was Kael'thar. The dragon prince lay still, his great head resting on folded wings. Even asleep, he radiated a power that made the air hum slightly. Finn had never been this close to a dragon of Kael'thar's age or size. His legs shook and for a moment he thought he might have to leave. But something in the stillness called to him. Finn stepped closer, carefully, almost tiptoeing, though his boots echoed slightly on the stone floor. Kael'thar's eyes were closed, and yet Finn felt that the dragon could see him. The air felt heavy with expectation. Outside, in the observation deck, other attendants and scientists were watching through the crystal walls. They did not speak. Their hands hovered over controls, ready to act if Kael'thar moved. But inside, Finn felt a different kind of silence, one that was not fear but waiting, as if the room itself held its breath. Finn knelt down, placing the basket beside the dragon's massive claws. The fruit inside smelled sweet and fresh, but he knew it was not food Kael'thar wanted. The blankets were soft and warm, and he laid them gently over the dragon's folded wings. He whispered, "Good morning, Kael'thar. Time to wake up, lazy." The words seemed almost foolish in the vast chamber. A prince so mighty, so feared, waking to a human child's teasing voice? Finn smiled at the idea, though his hands shook slightly. He had no magic. He had no technology. All he had was courage and the simple belief that Kael'thar was not meant to stay asleep forever. Nothing happened at first. The crystal shimmered, and the light in the room danced across Kael'thar's golden scales. Finn waited, holding his breath. The attendants outside tensed, the scientists whispered among themselves, and for a long moment, it seemed that nothing would change. Then very slowly, a twitch ran along Kael'thar's massive eyelid. The great dragon stirred ever so slightly, a soft rumble escaping from his chest. It was not loud or threatening, only the faintest vibration that shook the crystal floor under Finn's knees. Finn's eyes widened. He did not move. He whispered again, "Get up, lazy. You can't sleep forever." He laughed softly, trying to keep his fear from showing. Kael'thar's head lifted, just a fraction, and his glowing golden eyes opened a slit. A shaft of sunlight fell across his face, highlighting scales that shone brighter than polished gold. The chamber seemed to hold its breath again. Outside, attendants gasped. Scientists pressed buttons frantically, recording every detail. Everyone had expected a battle, a roar, or a destructive force. Instead there was quiet, calm, majestic, impossible calm. Finn felt a thrill of wonder. The dragon was awake. He had done it. Somehow, his small voice had reached the slumbering prince where all the magic of the galaxy had failed. Kael'thar lifted his head higher now, his long neck stretching like a golden river. He sniffed the air, taking in the scents of the chamber, the fresh fruit, and the tiny human kneeling before him. The dragon's eyes studied Finn with intelligence, curiosity, and something else, trust. Finn swallowed hard, but he did not move away. He could feel the immense power of Kael'thar, and yet he also felt that the dragon would not harm him. Not now. The great crystal chamber vibrated faintly, as if acknowledging the awakening. Sunlight scattered in sharp beams across the floor, walls, and ceiling. Finn reached out, trembling, and touched the tip of Kael'thar's snout. The dragon's golden eyes softened and a low, warm rumble echoed through the chamber. It was not a roar, not a warning. It was a sound of recognition, of connection. The attendants outside were frozen. None of them could believe what they were witnessing. The human stable boy had done what the most powerful beings in the galaxy could not. He had awakened the dragon prince. Finn's small voice had reached Kael'thar's heart, and the sleeping prince had chosen to respond. Kael'thar moved his massive wings slightly, flexing them and stretching his claws, careful and precise. Finn laughed softly, a mixture of fear and excitement. "See? I told you to get up," he whispered. The dragon lowered his massive head slightly as if bowing to him. Finn felt the vibration in his chest and smiled. For the first time in centuries, the chamber was no longer silent. Kael'thar had awakened, not with magic, not with science, but with a human child's courage and simple words. The world outside might have expected power, fury, or destruction. But inside the chamber, a bond had begun, one that would change the course of the Sky Fortress, the dragons, and the galaxy itself. Finn looked up at the glowing eyes of Kael'thar and realized something very important. The Dragon Prince was no longer just a legend. He was alive. And somehow, Finn had become the first to wake him. The adventure had only just begun. The Sky Fortress, the dragon attendants, the aliens watching, and even the stars beyond waited to see what would happen next. But Finn did not care about legends or warnings or fear. He only cared that the Dragon Prince was awake, and that he was ready to meet him as a friend. The chamber was quiet except for the soft rumble of Kael'thar's breathing. The sunlight shifted across the crystals, making colors dance across the dragon's golden scales. Finn stayed kneeling on the floor, not moving, not daring to speak loudly. His heart still pounded, but he felt a strange calm too. The Dragon Prince was awake and somehow he trusted Finn. Outside the crystal walls, the attendants and scientists whispered in panic and awe. No one dared enter. They had seen the impossible happen. A human child had awakened Kael'thar, the most feared creature in the galaxy. Now they waited, watching every movement. Every twitch of Kael'thar's claws or wings made them hold their breath. Finn leaned closer. His small hands rested on the edge of the crystal bed, and he whispered again, soft and careful, "Good morning, Kael'thar. Did you sleep well, lazy?" The words were almost silly, but something in the tone reached the dragon. Kael'thar lifted his great head slightly and sniffed the air, his golden eyes narrowing just a little. The rumble from his chest deepened, and Finn felt it vibrate through the floor. It was not anger. It was attention. Kael'thar was listening. The child's whisper traveled through the silence, gentle and steady. "You've slept too long," Finn said. "There are worlds to see. You don't have to be lonely anymore." His voice shook a little, but he kept going. He had no idea if it would work, but he felt that Kael'thar could hear him in a way no magic or technology ever could. Kael'thar's massive wings twitched. One eye opened wider, revealing the bright golden glow inside. It was a look that could have terrified anyone else, but Finn did not run. Instead he laughed softly. "I'm not afraid of you," he whispered. "I just want to be your friend." The dragon lowered his head closer, not threatening, only curious. Finn felt the heat from Kael'thar's scales and the faint pulse of energy in his body. It was enormous, overwhelming but not dangerous. Finn reached out and touched the tip of the dragon's nose. The scales were hard but warm. Kael'thar inhaled, a gentle breath that almost felt like a sigh. Outside the attendants gasped. "He's letting him touch him," one said, voice trembling. The scientists scrambled to record everything. Every movement, every sound, every ripple in the dragon's body was noted. They could not understand it. A child, a human, had bridged the gap that centuries of magic, experiments, and fear had failed to cross. Finn whispered again, almost to himself, "You've waited a long time, haven't you?" He did not need an answer. He could feel the truth in the silence around him. Kael'thar's long sleep had not been just for rest. It had been awaiting a test. And now, finally, someone small, simple, and brave had come close enough to awaken him. The dragon's eyes blinked slowly, and then he shifted his great body. One claw moved, careful and precise, resting on the edge of the crystal bed. Finn flinched at first, but Kael'thar did not strike. He was studying, learning, trying to understand this small creature who dared to speak so boldly to a being of legend. Finn smiled. See? I'm not going to run away. I just want you to wake up. I want you to know you're not alone. His whisper was steady now, calm. He had found a rhythm, a way to speak to Kael'thar that no spell, no device could replicate. A low rumble came from the dragon's chest. This time it was softer, warmer, like the vibration of a giant drum, but it carried no threat. Finn laughed quietly. You like that, don't you? I'm not scared of you and you're not scared of me. We're friends. Kael'thar shifted again. His wings stretched slightly, brushing the crystal walls. A faint golden dust fell from them, sparkling in the sunlight. Finn looked up in awe. The dragon was enormous, powerful, and feared by the entire galaxy. And yet, here he was, responding to the whispers of a small human boy. The impossibility of it made Finn's heart race, but he felt no fear. Only wonder. Outside, the whispers turned into murmurs of astonishment. The attendants and scientists were frozen, unsure whether to step forward or stay back. The child had done what no one thought possible. He had spoken into the silence of Kael'thar's long sleep, and the dragon had answered with movement, warmth, and recognition. Finn crouched closer, his hands resting on his knees. You've been waiting, he said softly. Waiting for someone who doesn't try to control you. Waiting for someone who isn't afraid. He paused, feeling the vibration of Kael'thar's gentle rumble against the floor. I'm here. I'm not afraid. Kael'thar blinked, and the golden light in his eyes grew brighter. He lowered his head even more, bringing it closer to Finn's face. The child could feel the dragon's breath, warm and steady, brushing against his hair. The power in that breath could crush walls, but it felt gentle. Finn whispered, Good. That's better. You're awake now. The dragon exhaled slowly, a soft plume of golden light spilling from his nostrils. It filled the chamber with warmth and color, scattering rainbows across the walls. Finn laughed, a small sound but full of triumph. See? I told you to wake up. You didn't need magic or anything fancy. You just needed someone who believed you could. Kael'thar's wings flexed again, stretching and folding, and he let out a low, soft rumble, almost like a purr. Finn reached out and touched the edge of his massive claw. The dragon did not move away. He simply let the boy feel his presence, feel the calm, feel the trust. For the first time in centuries, the chamber was no longer silent. Kael'thar had awakened not with force, not with spells, not with machines, but with something stronger, a human child's courage, heart, and voice. Finn realized, even as he knelt there, that this was only the beginning. The dragon had heard him. The dragon had chosen to respond. And together they would face what came next, a world that had long feared Kael'thar but had never truly understood him. Finn whispered once more, You're not alone anymore, Kael'thar. Not ever. The dragon's eyes glowed softly and a gentle rumble filled the chamber. The bond had begun. A small whisper in the silence had reached a sleeping prince, and the impossible had finally happened. The adventure was just beginning. The chamber was alive with a quiet hum as Kael'thar slowly lifted his massive head. The golden eyes that had been closed for centuries now shone brightly, reflecting the light from the crystal walls. Finn stayed where he was, knees on the stone floor, heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. The dragon prince was awake, and every part of the chamber seemed to vibrate with his power. Kael'thar flexed his claws carefully, stretching each one as if testing the strength of his muscles after so long in slumber. Finn watched in awe. He had heard stories of Kael'thar's immense power, how his wings could create storms and how his roar could shake mountains. And yet, now, the dragon's movements were careful, almost gentle, like a being testing the world after a long absence. Finn smiled and whispered, You're awake now. It's okay. His small voice carried across the wide chamber. He did not step back, though his legs shook. He reached out again, placing a hand lightly on the tip of Kael'thar's nose. The scales were warm and smooth under his fingers, and the dragon's eyes softened slightly. The rumble in his chest, low and steady, seemed to respond directly to Finn's touch. Outside the crystal walls, the attendants and scientists were frozen in awe. Their instruments, their spells, and their devices had failed for centuries. All their power could not awaken the Dragon Prince. And yet, here was a child, a human, small and untrained in magic, standing where no one had dared to stand and speaking softly. That was enough. The dragon had chosen to wake for him. Kael'thar shifted his enormous body, lifting one wing slowly. It stretched across the chamber, brushing the walls with golden light. Dust sparkled in the air, and sunlight caught on the edges of the scales, making them shine brighter than any treasure. Finn laughed softly, awed but not afraid. "Wow," he whispered. "You're even bigger than the stories." The dragon's eyes followed Finn's movement. Kael'thar lowered his head closer to the child, sniffing the air around him. There was curiosity, intelligence, and something new: trust. Finn reached up cautiously and touched the side of Kael'thar's face. The dragon tilted his massive head, allowing the contact. It was a gesture of acknowledgement, a silent bond forming between them. Finn whispered again, "I'm not afraid of you. I just want to be your friend." The words seemed to reach something deep within Kael'thar. The rumble in the dragon's chest grew softer, almost like a purr. The dragon's eyes flickered with a golden glow that seemed to pulse in rhythm with Finn's heartbeat. Kael'thar flexed his wings again, and this time he shifted his massive body entirely, rising slightly off the crystal bed. The stone beneath his claws groaned under the weight, but he moved with precision, careful not to harm the boy. Finn felt the ground shake lightly, but he stayed on his knees, laughing softly. "See? You don't have to be scary. You just needed someone to talk to." The dragon tilted his head, and a soft hiss of warm air blew over Finn. It was not fire or danger, only a gentle gust that carried a faint metallic scent of Kael'thar's scales. The child smiled and leaned closer. "I'm here," he whispered. "I'm not going anywhere. I won't leave you alone." Kael'thar's eyes followed every movement, and then slowly he lowered his head until his massive snout was just above Finn. The child reached up with both hands and touched the dragon's nose. The contact was firm but gentle. Kael'thar let out a soft rumble vibrating through the chamber, and Finn laughed, thrilled by the response. The Dragon Prince had accepted him. Outside the chamber, the observers whispered among themselves. "The human, he did it," one said. "No magic, no machines, just him." Another shook their head, disbelief in their voice. "The child, he's connected to him somehow. That's why he woke the prince." Inside, Finn felt Kael'thar's warm breath on his face. "You're awake now," he said. "You don't have to sleep anymore. The world is waiting for you." He did not realize that those words, so simple, carried more power than any spell. They carried trust, courage, and compassion, the very things Kael'thar had been waiting for. The dragon shifted again, raising his wings fully. The chamber trembled slightly under the weight of his massive body. Finn held tight, standing slowly as Kael'thar moved toward the center of the room. The golden eyes never left him. The dragon's gaze was not angry or threatening. It was observing, testing, learning. Finn stepped forward carefully, reaching for Kael'thar's side. "It's okay," he whispered. "I won't let anything hurt you. I promise." Kael'thar lowered his head slightly, allowing the contact. His massive chest rumbled again, soft and steady. It was not a roar, not a threat. It was acknowledgement. Then Kael'thar lifted his head fully and stretched his wings again. Sunlight caught on the edges of each scale, turning them into living gold. Finn laughed softly in delight. "You're amazing," he said. "Even more amazing awake than asleep." The dragon's eyes glimmered as if he understood. Kael'thar flexed his tail slowly, coiling it around the base of the crystal bed without touching Finn. The dragon was careful, precise, and graceful despite his enormous size. Finn realized that Kael'thar's power was tempered by intelligence and patience. This was no ordinary beast. This was a prince, and he had chosen Finn as his first friend in centuries. The chamber filled with light as Kael'thar raised himself onto his legs fully. He shifted his weight carefully, testing his strength after so long. Finn stood beside him, tiny against the dragon's golden form, but unafraid. He could feel the vibration of Kael'thar's power in his chest, but he trusted the bond they had formed. Finally, Kael'thar lowered his massive head to Finn's height, eyes glowing with warmth. The child reached up and touched the dragon's snout one last time. "Welcome back," Finn whispered. "The world has waited long enough." Kael'thar's rumble echoed softly, filling the chamber. It was not a roar, not a growl, but a sound of recognition, of awakening, of trust. The Dragon Prince had chosen life again, and the human boy beside him had earned a place in a story that would change the galaxy forever. Finn smiled, taking a small step back to admire the dragon. "We'll face the world together," he whispered. Kael'thar's golden eyes flickered, and the wings flexed as if in agreement. The prince had awakened not just from sleep, but from centuries of waiting, and he had chosen a friend to share the journey ahead. The chamber was no longer silent. The dragon prince had risen, and the adventure had only just begun. The chamber was quiet now, but it no longer felt empty. Kael'thar stood tall, his golden scales shining in the light from the crystal walls. Finn walked carefully beside him, still in awe of the dragon's size and presence. The air hummed faintly with the power that radiated from the dragon prince, but Finn did not feel afraid. He felt connected, as if the centuries of silence had been broken by something simple: trust. Kael'thar lowered his massive head slightly, allowing Finn to place a hand on his snout. The dragon's eyes, golden and glowing, seemed to search the child's face. Finn could feel something unspoken in the gaze, a question, a memory, and a story hidden behind the centuries of sleep. Finn whispered softly, "Why did you sleep for so long?" The dragon rumbled, a deep, vibrating sound that echoed through the chamber. It was not a voice, but Finn somehow understood. Kael'thar had not slept because he was weak or tired. He had slept because his kind had lost a connection long ago. A connection with humans. That bond had been the source of their strength and wisdom, and without it, the dragons had fallen into a long silence. Finn's eyes widened. "So, you were waiting for someone, like me?" he whispered. Kael'thar's eyes flickered, almost as if he were nodding. The child could sense that the dragon's slumber had been more than rest. It had been a pause, a test of time, waiting for the right heart to awaken him. The chamber seemed to glow brighter as Kael'thar lowered his head, letting Finn place both hands on the side of his face. The dragon's scales were warm, and the pulse of his power was steady, not threatening. Finn felt the energy not as fear but as something gentle and wise. The dragon prince had waited not just for anyone, but for someone small, brave, and kind enough to approach without fear. Finn took a deep breath. "You waited, for me?" he whispered. "All this time, you waited for someone who wasn't afraid of you?" Kael'thar rumbled again, slowly, and the sound seemed almost like laughter. The dragon's golden eyes softened, and the pulse in his chest grew steady, like a heartbeat in rhythm with Finn's own. The attendants and scientists outside the crystal walls whispered among themselves. They had expected magic, spells, or machines to awaken Kael'thar. But now they realized that the dragon's slumber had a secret no one had understood. Only a human's courage and heart could reach him. Not force. Not fear. Not clever devices. Only connection. Finn walked closer, placing a hand on Kael'thar's wing. The golden scales glimmered beneath his fingers. "I think I understand now," he whispered. "You weren't asleep because you didn't want to wake. You were waiting for someone who could understand you." Kael'thar's head lowered further, bringing his massive snout near Finn's shoulder. The vibration of his rumble was soft and comforting. The child smiled. "I won't leave you alone. I promise." Kael'thar's wings flexed gently, brushing against the floor. He lifted one claw and rested it near Finn, careful not to touch him with the full weight of his power. The gesture was deliberate. Finn realized that the dragon prince's choice to trust him was more than awakening, it was acceptance. Finn stepped back slightly, observing the massive dragon with new understanding. "You kept all your knowledge and power inside, didn't you?" he asked. "All the worlds you've seen, the stars you've mapped, you waited for someone to share it with." Kael'thar's eyes flickered again. The answer was clear. The dragon's sleep had not been only rest. It had been protection. It had been waiting for a companion, someone who could awaken not only Kael'thar's body but his heart and mind. The child's voice was calm now, gentle but firm. "I think we can be friends," he whispered. "You can show me everything you know and I can help you. We can explore the worlds together." Kael'thar rumbled softly, a vibration that ran through the floor and up Finn's legs. The dragon's eyes, golden and warm, met Finn's, and the unspoken promise was clear. The long centuries of silence were over and a new bond had begun. Outside the chamber, the whispers grew into astonishment. The attendants and scientists recorded everything, but none of them understood fully. It was not magic, not technology that had awakened Kael'thar. It was something deeper, something that had waited for centuries. Human courage, kindness, and trust. Finn had reached the secret inside the dragon prince that no spell or machine could touch. Finn touched Kael'thar's snout again, softly. "You've been alone too long," he said. "It's time to see the worlds again. Together." Kael'thar's wings flexed once more, and the golden light of his scales shimmered brightly, spreading warmth across the chamber. The rumble from his chest was steady now, like a heartbeat in rhythm with the child's own. The dragon lowered his head, pressing it gently near Finn's shoulder. The gesture was a silent acknowledgement of trust and understanding. Finn smiled, feeling the warmth and power beneath his hands. Kael'thar's sleep had been long and secret, but the truth was clear. The Dragon Prince had waited for a human not for strength or skill, but for a heart that dared to approach, speak and trust. Finn whispered softly, "I think we can do great things together." Kael'thar rumbled in agreement, a low, steady vibration that seemed to fill the chamber and echo through the fortress. The Dragon Prince had awakened, not only from sleep but from centuries of waiting, and he had chosen a companion to share the journey. The secret of Kael'thar's sleep was no longer a mystery. It had been a test of trust, patience and courage. And Finn had passed. The adventure was only beginning, and the bond between human and dragon promised to change the galaxy forever. Kael'thar's wings stretched wide, filling the crystal chamber with golden light. Finn stood at the dragon's side, small but fearless, his eyes shining with excitement. The dragon rumbled softly, a sound that vibrated through the floor, through the walls and through Finn's chest. It was the sound of life, of awakening and of something new beginning. The fortress, which had been silent for centuries, now buzzed with energy as the impossible had finally happened. Outside the chamber, the attendants and scientists watched in awe. The legends of Kael'thar had grown over centuries, painting him as a force too powerful for any being to approach. Yet here he was, alive and calm, choosing to trust a human boy. Whispers ran through the observation decks. The Dragon Prince had awoken, and the galaxy would never be the same. Finn climbed carefully onto Kael'thar's massive back. The dragon flexed his wings gently, testing the weight and feeling of his new companion. Finn held on tightly, his heart racing with a mix of fear and thrill. "Ready?" he whispered. Kael'thar rumbled in response, a low sound that Finn took as agreement. With a powerful beat of his wings, Kael'thar lifted off the crystal floor, carrying them both into the open air above the fortress. The wind rushed past Finn's face, whipping his hair back as the dragon soared higher and higher. The clouds below shimmered with golden light reflecting from Kael'thar's scales. Finn laughed, a sound of pure joy and wonder. He had dreamed of adventure, but nothing in his life had prepared him for flying on the back of a dragon prince who had slept for centuries. From above, the world looked different. The sky fortress, with its shining towers and crystal walls, seemed small, even fragile, against the vast expanse of the skies. Finn leaned forward, gripping Kael'thar's scales and whispered, "There's so much to see, so many worlds waiting." The dragon rumbled softly in reply, as if he understood every word. Kael'thar's flight took them over mountains and rivers that glittered in sunlight, across deserts that stretched like oceans of gold, and over forests so vast that even Finn could not see the edges. Every place they passed seemed to come alive under the dragon's presence, as if the world itself recognized the awakening of its most ancient guardian. Finn felt a sense of awe, not just for the dragon's power but for the new bond they shared. They flew over alien cities where beings of every shape and size paused to look up in shock. The news of Kael'thar's awakening had already spread, carried by sensors, scouts and word of mouth. Humans and aliens alike watched as the golden dragon and the small human boy soared together. There was no fear this time. Instead, there was wonder, hope and curiosity. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy saw a partnership that had not existed before. A dragon and a human united not by magic or technology, but by trust and courage. Finn leaned down slightly, touching Kael'thar's neck. "We have to show them," he whispered, "that humans and dragons can work together. That we can protect the worlds, not destroy them." Kael'thar rumbled in agreement, his golden eyes glimmering with intelligence and understanding. The Dragon Prince had chosen not only to awaken but to become a partner, to share his power and knowledge with someone he trusted. As they flew, Finn asked, "Where should we go first?" Kael'thar tilted his head and let out a soft, low roar. It was not a warning. It was a signal, a direction. Finn realized that Kael'thar had already seen worlds beyond the galaxy, maps and star systems that humans had never imagined. And now, Finn would be the first human to travel with him, to learn, to explore, and to form a bond that would shape the future. The sky fortress became a small point below them as they rose higher into the atmosphere. Finn looked around, taking in the endless sky, the shimmering stars above, and the glow of Kael'thar's golden scales in the sunlight. He felt small, yes, but he also felt powerful in a new way. He had awakened the Dragon Prince, and now he shared in the responsibility of guiding him through the galaxy. They passed over planets, some lush and green, some barren and rocky, and Finn could see the possibilities for each world. "We can help them," he whispered. "We can protect them, teach them, show them that humans and dragons together can make a difference." Kael'thar rumbled deeply, a sound full of agreement and anticipation. The Dragon Prince had waited for this, for someone to understand that his power could be shared, not feared. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in red and gold, Finn and Kael'thar hovered above a vast ocean. The reflection of the dragon's scales on the water below made it look as if the sea itself was glowing. Finn felt a deep sense of hope. The galaxy had feared Kael'thar for centuries, but now with a human by his side, the Dragon Prince represented something new: cooperation, trust, and the beginning of a new era. Finn whispered softly, "This is only the beginning, Kael'thar. Together we can change the galaxy for the better." The dragon lowered his massive head slightly, and Finn rested against his scales, feeling the warmth and power beneath him. Kael'thar's wings flexed once more, and with a beat, they soared higher into the stars. The galaxy stretched endlessly before them, full of worlds to explore, mysteries to uncover, and challenges to face. Finn knew that there would be dangers, that not everyone would understand their partnership, but he also knew something stronger. The bond between a human and a dragon prince could overcome fear, suspicion, and doubt. They were not just companions, they were partners in shaping the future. Kael'thar roared softly, a sound that echoed across planets and moons, not as a threat but as a declaration. The Dragon Prince had awakened, and with him, a new era had begun. Finn laughed with joy, leaning closer to Kael'thar's neck. "Let's go, Kael'thar," he whispered. "Let's show the galaxy what humans and dragons can do together." And with that, the two of them, one human, one dragon, soared into the endless skies, ready to face whatever came next. The sleeping prince had awoken, and the adventure had truly begun. The galaxy would never forget this day, the day a human stable boy and a dragon prince united to start a new era of partnership, courage, and hope.